You are so loved and precious in God's eyes. And if God is calling you to this, then you go for it. My mum brought me up as a single parent, and she's white. She didn't actually, she didn't actually take me to church, but she'd always brought me up to be a Christian. She'd always talked about Jesus and all these stories, so it was very much part of my growing up. And but the reason why I say it's very much sort of held in this kind of white Christian middle class sort of place is because I actually came to faith through singing. So I started singing in choirs and cathedral choirs, and not seeing many people of colour in those spaces at all, if ever. But they were amazing, and it was definitely a place where I felt a real welcome, and just so much beauty and inspiration from being in that place and hearing such beautiful music. It was definitely where my faith began to grow there. And then through that, just it was sort of observing what was going on around me in worship. So I started being a server, really enjoyed it, and then I asked if I could be a head server, and then I was asked if I wanted to be a deanery synod rep once I got a bit older. And so it just was that kind of, it really started with those little, just wanting to understand more and get involved. Just being able to have the opportunity to talk and understand God and be with other people who felt the same. It just sort of stayed with me. And I probably did kind of carry on in church at that age that you kind of lose a lot of people. So like even those teenage years, I still was going to church, I was still singing in the choir, I was still serving. It was only actually at university that I stopped because I went off and did archaeology at Winchester. It was around that time we also went to Taizé as a church, and that had a profound effect because it was at that place I think I first felt a calling to ministry, and thought this might be something that God's calling me to. But I was like, I'm way too young to do that. And I remember talking to others who were there, and they were just like, but the church needs young people. And I was like, nah, I'm just, when I'm old, or when I'm retired, so I'll retire from things and then I'll think about becoming a priest or something. And it's like, well, okay. But I had a great experience at Taizé and was asked to lead a little Bible study group of my own when I was there. And that was an amazing experience, having to lead a Bible study for a group of young people whose first language was not English, and being the only person who's only had one language, which was English. I felt very humble that they were just, glad to have let me lead them. So that was a lovely experience. I was at St Luke's one Sunday and felt this real strong call from God. And it really felt like God was just, at that moment, was literally behind me saying, I want you to be a priest. And I was like, oh, gosh, okay. And I kept it quiet, kept it to myself for a few weeks. And it was funny. I think I was serving, or I just happened to be in the vestry. And the voice came back and said, you need to tell someone. And it was just such a funny experience, because it was just like, all right. But it was like God was like, hang on a minute, Serena, I'm asking you to do this. Why are you not doing it? You need to tell someone. And that's the only way it's going to start happening, is if you tell someone. I think when you grow up as a person of colour, but in a very kind of white world, you don't see things happening. You maybe don't notice the prejudice or the racism. And it's only when you kind of sit back, you're like, oh, okay, that's maybe why I wasn't invited to that, or that's why that didn't happen. Okay, I didn't realise, I just thought they didn't like me. That can be difficult when you have to sit back and you realise that. It's also funny because of the fact that I'm mixed, I can't sit comfortably in either world. There's this sense of, even coming today, I kind of felt a bit like a fraud. But then you sometimes sit in both those worlds. And that, I think, is what I have adapted to over the years. I've realised that because of that, I've had to adapt. I've had to, change the way I am in those different worlds, and I've been able to do that. And I feel more comfortable to do that. And yeah, I guess it's helped me. It's helped me sort of be more approachable, I think. Being able to spend more time with my brothers and sisters who are, people of colour, it has really opened my eyes, and it's grown my faith in a different way. And yeah, I think it's given me a bit more confidence in my faith and being able to express myself. I think that group of people have really given me that kind of like, yeah, I can do this, and maybe be able to express myself better in a way I wasn't able to before. It's so surprising when you read stories about the things that Black people have done to bring about change, and the hardship, and to try and get us to realise that the world that we live in, and how being a person of colour has impacted them being able to bring about change or do anything. And, I think it is important, because I think people just take that for granted. People just take for granted to walk down the street, and I guess with, and to be, and to, to say to your child, you can be whatever you want to be. But if you're a person of colour, that's just not something you can say to your child. And I think to have people realise that is the only way, and I hope to bring about change. And so I think it's important to have this month to sort of say to people, please remember that it's not as simple as, life is not that simple for everyone else out there. I appreciate there are hardships no matter where you come from, what ethnicity you are, I know that especially at the moment everyone is going through a really hard time, but I think it's a really great opportunity to remind us of the amazing things that people of colour have done despite what they've had to face. You are so loved and precious in God's eyes, and if God is calling you to this, then you go for it. Go for it. There is a reason why God is calling you, and do not let anything stand in your way.